Good evening and welcome back to Superintendent Insight. I'm Mark Hanton and we're back again with Superintendent Mr. Tom Shorkey.
Nice to be back with you, Mark.
Great. So spring is upon us and there's quite a few things going on. We have graduation and different arrangements. What has the district arranged for these things?
Well, a couple of the highlights that are going to be upon us sooner rather than later. It seems like we just started this school year a week or two ago, and already we're at the end of May. We have graduation activities. Actually, on Friday, June the 8th, both high schools will have their honors and awards programs in the morning at the respective schools, both at PH and at Northern. Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock is baccalaureate, and that will be for both schools, and that's at Port Huron High's auditorium this year. And then we have 3 consecutive nights of graduation ceremonies. We have on Monday evening at 8 o'clock, we will do the Port Huron South and Jefferson Adult Learning Center graduation. Tuesday evening will be Port Huron High School. Okay. Wednesday evening, the 13th, will be Port Huron Northern. And of course, Northern and High will be at McMorran for their ceremonies, as they have been for a number of years. So we've got some things to look forward to. We completed just this past week, we had our 3.5 grade point average awards program at each school. It's sponsored by the Port Huron Chamber of Commerce. It's a great event. It's for seniors who have maintained that grade point average through high school and will graduate with 3.5 or above. Tremendous ceremonies in our performing arts centers at both schools. We also had our annual co-op banquet, which is our students from both high schools that work in the business community. We had that at Port Huron Northern last week. We had the opportunity for Bob Beeden, who's retired from the district this year and was kind of like the godfather of the co-op program, got to come back and say a few words on behalf of our students and our employers. And we just have had a host of things going on. It's a very busy time, elementary, middle school, and high school.
Right, it really speeds up this time of year.
Absolutely.
Now you said baccalaureate was together, both schools. Is that new? Is that the way it's been?
No, I'm not sure, because as you know, my history with the school district goes back to last August. Although baccalaureate is, that's a volunteer program. That's student-led, has a little religious theme to it. So it's not sponsored by the school district. It's sponsored by students in the community. And so that's a volunteer project that, students that choose to go to. And it's a very nice program, but that's just kind of a lead into the graduation week.
Okay, great. Now, May 8th, we had some elections, the annual elections for the school board. How did those results turn out?
As I think you've probably seen, or most of the people who are in our Cable 6 viewing area, May 8th was the annual school election. We had 2 people elected to our school board, Rasha Damashki, who is our present vice president, and Rasha and her husband, Dr. Waleed Damashki, have had 3 daughters go through our system. Sarah, the youngest, is graduating this year from Port Huron Northern, and Rasha has completed her first 4-year term and will return to the board for another term effective in July. Our newcomer to the Board of Education is Garth Krewall. Garth has 2 sons, one at Michigami Elementary and I believe a freshman at Port Huron High this year. Garth is well known in the community, former editor at the Times Herald, and very interested in school and community activities. So Garth and Rasha will be our new board members. They've already been sworn in, and look forward to them joining our present board effective in July.
Okay, so July is when they would both begin.
July is when, of course, Rasha's still on,
She's
but
still on, right.
Garth will join up in July.
Great. Well, let's go to a couple hard questions, going to the budget. I know it's probably kept you more than busy right now, and I know Lansing hasn't made any true decisions yet. There's some things going on back and forth, so how does that affect us right now with the budget?
Well, it really has an effect on us. However, as we've talked before on our Insight program, this school year is winding down. Our fiscal year ends June 30th, which is about 4 or 5 weeks away. Seniors are done next Friday, and school's out, around the 13th or 14th of June. And the legislature still hasn't determined what's our final allotment for the present school year. And we've heard numbers ranging from $34 a student to $122 a student. What that really means for us in this school district is they are going to withhold somewhere between $300,000 and $1.4 million from this district for this year. We've known something drastic was going to be coming all year, and we've kind of made arrangements with our present budget, so we hope we'll weather that storm. The situation we have in Port Huron schools, like 70% of the schools in the state, we're declining in enrollment.
Right.
The last 10 years, we've dropped about 1,000 students. We'll probably drop another 800 over the next 6 or 7 years. So when your funding is predicated on enrollment, we have some issues. Last evening, we had a board workshop dealing with our budget situation. We think, we've got some tough decisions to make, but it looks to me like this district has been fiscally responsible for a long time. I think we should be able to weather this storm, and we'll just have to live with the enrollment decline. Jobs are leaving Michigan. Young families are going elsewhere for employment. Birth rates are down. We graduate more people than we enroll in kindergarten, so we'll have to make some adjustments as we go.
Okay. Now, you said it would continue to decline. Is there some hope, you think, with these new plants coming into Marysville? Or you said you were prepared already, you're just kind of keeping that mindset?
Well, we think long range that eventually, there is a great deal of open area in the Blue Water area. Some of our townships, there's a lot of available property, but of course it depends on sewer and water. And if housing is going to develop, that means there has to be, the economy has to, provide some jobs for people in this area. What we will look at long range is we'll probably continue to decline in enrollment. Once upon a time, we had 12,500 students, and we're targeting this district maybe to level off at around 10,000 students. So we have to make some adjustments, but I think we always have to be prepared for the future in the event that some significant growth does occur. Right.
Okay. Now, the budget definitely affects the teachers. If you have less students, you need less teachers. There's already, staffing's now done, and we've had some musical chairs as far as where teachers end up. Can you tell us more about how that process works? And will there be teachers laid off? I know there's an article in the Times-Herald about it.
Well, you asked specifically about teachers, which is true, but it really, when you have decline in enrollment, it permeates all areas of the budget. And there's been some significant reductions, like in administrative staff. We've eliminated over the last 2 years about 10 to 12 administrative positions. Each year, by law, if we can't guarantee a full-time position for a teacher, we need to let them know by June 1st that they are scheduled for layoff. So what we do in the Port Huron Area School District, and it's a complex system, but it's been honed over the last 20 years. We go through a staffing process that begins in February, and it's predicated on the enrollment and the number of students that are projected for each of the buildings. And then on May 8th, we have what we call Staffing Day in the district. And all the building principals and the administration is there. On the second floor, we have approximately 10 representatives from the Port Huron Education Association, because it's all about being highly qualified under No Child Left Behind, what your majors and minors are, and of course seniority comes into play. After the Staffing Day, which occurred last week, there's been 39 people, as the Times-Herald article earlier in the week mentioned. 39 people have been identified for layoff. But the other part of that is we have numerous part-time positions. We have some grant-related positions. So when the smoke clears, there won't be 39 people out of work. What we will do next week is we will post all the partial positions that are available, and a number of those 39 people will be eligible for those. You mentioned the musical chairs
Right.
aspect, and what all else happens over the summer is people retire, they resign, maybe they begin a family, they relocate. So numerous people on that list get called back over the summer. When we get closer to August, and if the enrollment spikes in certain buildings, that means we'll need a couple of more teachers in a particular building. So for example, last year at this time, we had 48 people identified for layoff. When it was all said and done, we were down to about 24 or so that didn't have positions. By the time the school year started, all but 3 or 4 were called back.
Okay.
So, excuse me, we think that similar things will happen this year.
Okay. So people can tend to worry, but a lot of times people get called back. So recently we had statewide staff or teacher appreciation week, and I know our PTSA did a great luncheon for our teachers at Howland Woods. Did the district participate in this as a whole?
The Board of Education participates, and we call it Staff Appreciation Week because we recognize that our students are affected from that bus driver they see first thing in the morning, to the paraprofessional, to the lunch aides, secretaries in the office, our custodial maintenance crew, and then of course our teachers in the classroom. So what we do in the Port Huron Area School District is we recognize it as Staff Appreciation Week. And what we did this year is there's numerous sesquicentennial publications that are out to honor the 150th year of the city of Port Huron. And we have put in package together of materials and books for each one of our schools' media centers on age-appropriate elementary, middle school, and high school. And that material has a little plaque involved that these were from the Port Huron Board of Education in honor of Staff Appreciation Week. It's something that ties right into what our community is doing with our 150th birthday, recognizes staff. And then, as you know, the last few times we've done our Insight program, I bring on a special guest for the last 10 minutes or so, and we're going to do that again today, and it kind of ties into our staff appreciation, so we do value our employees. They really make our district what it is.
Okay, great. So is there anything else you would like to tell our listening audience?
Well, I think one interesting thing that occurred this past weekend, Mark, was the Sunday Morning Times Herald highlighted the Blue Water Area All-Academic Team. 10 students from 3 counties, Sanilac, Lapeer, and St. Clair counties. That's 22 high schools, 120 different students applied for this honor. It's not only about your grade point, it's about your extracurricular involvement and your community involvement. And there were 120 applications. It was narrowed down to 20 semifinalists. They had to submit essays and were interviewed by a panel of people to determine who are the top 10 students in the entire 3-county area. I am very proud to say that Port Huron Area Schools landed 4 of our students into those 10 positions. 40% of that team is made up of our students. We had 2 from Port Huron Northern, 2 from Port Huron High School. From PH, we had Tyler Osborne and Shannon Robbins.
Okay.
And from Port Huron Northern, Veronica Ward and Sarah Damashki.
Great.
These are 4 talented, outstanding students who not only involve themselves in the classroom, but in our community and in extracurricular fashion. So I just think once again it underscores for us that there's a lot of good things happening in the Port Huron Area School District, and their parents should be very proud of them, and we are proud of them as educators in this district.
It's a very impressive award.
Very much so.
Great. Well, thank you again. You are watching Superintendent Insight. I'm Mark Hanton, and stay tuned. Mr. Shorkey is going to bring on a special guest.
Parents, there's something you can do to protect your kids from drugs and alcohol. Combine ground beef with egg, tomato sauce, breadcrumbs, and spices. Bake in an oven-safe pan at 350 for 50 minutes. Serve hot.
This is Jamie Lee Curtis. Children who eat dinner with their families are less likely to smoke, drink, or use drugs. So, have dinner together every day.
Delicious.
A message from CASA, the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University.
Welcome back to Superintendent Insights. I'm Tom Shorkey, the Superintendent of Port Huron Area Schools. And with me today, I have a special guest. Sandy Fuller is with us. Sandy's on the staff at Fort Gratiot Middle School. I've been in and out of many of the schools this year and out at Fort Gratiot, and I've noticed as I've walked down the hall, this energetic 6th grade teacher involving his students in lessons each time I've gone down that particular wing. As you know, we have 712 teachers in our school district, and we recently put the seniority list out. And the reason I have Sandy here is twofold. There's a #1 position on that seniority list, and that means the longest serving teacher presently in the Port Huron Area School District is none other than Sanford Fuller, better known as Sandy by all of us in the district. The second part of the reason I have Sandy on today is that this is Staff Appreciation Week throughout our school district. And I just thought it would be good for our listeners at home, maybe to get some insights from somebody who's been around this district longer than anyone else. So as part of Staff Appreciation Week, I'd like to welcome Sandy to our show today.
Thank you very much.
Now, it was a long time ago you made that decision to go into teaching, but
Yes,
maybe for our listening audience, tell us a little bit about your own background. Where did you go to elementary school, and what kind of experience did you have?
Well, I come from a line of teachers. My mom was a teacher. A couple of her sisters and her brother taught school, taught the old one-room rural country school, and that's where I attended. I attended Allen School, which is out in Kanoke Township. The school is no longer there. They tore it down, but I was fortunate enough to go to a school that had kindergarten through 8th grade in it. Some of us are not familiar with that today, but maybe fortunate or unfortunate, it happened to be my uncle was the teacher at that school and taught me for all of my elementary career.
So for kindergarten through grade 8, was
One
that
teacher.
the traditional one-room school
Yes,
where they
it
had all
was.
the different ages?
Oh, yes.
And
Oh,
your
yes.
teacher was your uncle.
Yes, Robert Watson.
Did he ever did he ever miss, or was he there every day?
No, he missed one day in all of my career, and that particular day he had to have my mother for a substitute. And I never saw any other teacher until I got to high school.
Well, does that mean then, now, Avoca, is that part of the Yale, Peck? What school district did that become part of?
Yes. They fought consolidation for several years in that district. They wanted to remain a little rural school, but of course at that time they were consolidating all these districts. And it's part now of the Yale School District, but for a while they had paid tuition for their students to go to Peck because they were resisting consolidation. But I went to Yale for all of my career, high school career, for the 4 years.
Now, would we say that after having that K-8 experience, then going to Yale, was teaching in your blood, or did you think you were going to do something else with your career?
My mother tried to persuade me to become a school teacher. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to the old Port Huron Junior College, SC4 now, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do, so she kind of pushed me until I went to Western Michigan University and got a teaching degree because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I went into private industry, but decided very quickly that I did not like that. And at that time, you could get a job anywhere in the state of Michigan, really. Especially a male teacher could get a job just about anywhere in the elementary. And was fortunate enough to walk in, it was a walk-in, to Port Huron Area Schools and ask if they had any positions available. And they said, well, we have a lot. Actually, they did. And they said, they gave me a choice, and I said, well, Fort Gratiot sounds nice because it's closest one to my home. I live in Avoca. And I said, that's like 11 miles from home. And they said, well, would you like to interview the principal? And I said, well, sure, I'd be glad to. And was hired and been there ever since.
Now, what year would that have been?
1966.
1966.
Yes.
You walked into Fort Gratiot as a teacher.
Yes.
41 years later,
Yes.
you're still at Fort Gratiot. Did you have any other stops in between, or have you done your entire career?
That's it. That's it. And I would have been in the same room, old room 313, except that I, at one time, asked to change. So I've been in 302 for years and years and years.
Tell me, we'll tread on some thin ice here. Tell me what you would tell somebody that was going into teaching today. What kind of advice would you have for some of our young people that said they'd love to go into education?
Yes. I would recommend that if that's really what they want to do, that they do that. It's a very rewarding career. Maybe not monetarily as much as you could get in private industry, but very rewarding. What other job can you see years later that you've affected someone's life like you do when you're a teacher?
Oh, that's a great way to put it, Sandy. And I do think that, and that is one of the sayings, that you just don't know how many lives you do affect as a teacher until maybe much later, and sometimes you never hear it, but it's happened. And,
Yes.
and I'm glad to hear you say that. All right, 1966, students walked into your classroom. 2007, they walk into your classroom.
Basically,
How have kids changed in 40 years?
basically the same. Kids are kids, especially the 11 and 12-year-olds. They're in a growing stage. They don't know whether they want to be elementary students or they want to be high school students. They're in between, and they don't really know how to handle themselves. They're testing you, testing themselves, testing their parents terribly, as you well know if you heard. We've both had children. We know what that's like. And it's just, the changes are basically not in the students. The changes are in technology, I would say. There's so much available for these students today that we're not, those things were not available. We had adding machines back in 1966. The kids didn't bring calculators to class. So, you know, and computers weren't even heard of, except in college where they had the old mainframes or whatever that were so large that you couldn't transport them. Now, they bring little teeny computers to class, and you know, it's all different.
Now, you teach 6th grade, Sandy, so you've taught a variety of subjects over the years. What's your favorite?
I think my favorite to teach is math.
And why is that?
I think you can see instant results, whereas in writing, I also teach a writing class and I teach social studies. Some of those foundations, it takes a long time to see, but if you teach a math student a lesson, you know the next day whether they got the material or not.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, in our listening audience, I am just very pleased that Sandy Fuller came on the show today. I think you could, just in this 10-minute interview, you could see the enthusiasm he has for his classroom, for our students, maintain that for 40-plus years, and we just hope he just keeps on for, we won't say another 40, but Sandy's the type of person who works with our children every day in our classrooms in Port Huron area schools, and he's a fine representative for us during Staff Appreciation Week, and to let our young people know that teaching is a great career, and as Sandy said, maybe it doesn't pay as much as some, but it is a profession where you can really make a difference that lasts a lifetime for children. On behalf of the district, thanks a lot for coming in today, Sandy.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.